Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to Astro Psych 400. I am your host, Ned from West Virginia, and today I'm going to be drinking some caramel tea. This is actually salted caramel tea. Can you see that little tea bag thing there? You would think that salted caramel tea would be absolutely delicious. I love tea, and I love caramel. I love salted caramel. All of those things, right? Together doesn't really blend too well. Also, these glasses that have like this curve in them, I think they're great for like milk and milkshakes. Something bothers me about anything else like salted caramel tea. Today I'm going to be talking all about the zodiac sign Cancer. This is part of an ongoing series here on Astro Psych 400. Going to do one episode for each of these zodiac signs, and everyone will get covered at some point. So if you haven't heard the previous episodes, that's fine. You can keep listening, but I definitely invite you to go back and check those out. You can always hit that like button, subscribe, share this video with your friends and family, anyone who might find interest in it, or especially people who are very skeptical of astrology, because I think they might be more attracted to this type of discussion than people who are die-hard regular believers. But to talk about the zodiac sign Cancer, a Cancer is typically from June 22nd to July 22nd, or June 21st. I mean, astrology is always give or take a day. Let's see what some of the media sources will say about the zodiac sign Cancer, and let's challenge them. This is also the first time that I've ever used one from Elle magazine. They have a description of Cancer. Happy solar return, Cancer. What a nice thing to say. Happy solar return. Before we get any further, I want to point out that the birth dates of Cancer are very close to the summer solstice. And there's a reason why people look toward things like the summer solstice, the fall equinox, the winter solstice, and the spring equinox. Because you can genuinely see differences in the sky on these dates. And also, the epitome of light, heat from the summer, the beginning of the hottest season of the year. This is where the real astrology is. How does this affect the brain? Happy solar return, Cancer. With the sun in your sign, July 22nd, Cancer season is in full swing. Feel free to prioritize your passions and get out of the house too, since you're probably seriously overdue for some in-person socializing. Spruce up your appearance with a few style updates, especially after June's particularly tough transits left you feeling frumpy and invisible at moments. Is money on your New Year's list? If so, you'll get a special boost in that direction once Leo season begins on August 22nd. Okay, so here's something very important to remember. Leos are going to be full of passion and energy. With Cancer, though, we're going to see in the summer season, there's going to be a certain type of energy, but I believe that this is a little bit different. For the first 3 days of July, anxious Mars is going to be thinking about your money, and this will clash with Saturn and disruptive Uranus. Speedy Mars could bring more opportunities. This thing from Elle magazine, that's kind of good, but that's more of like horoscopes and predictions. What I care much more about are the personality traits and how all of these points come together. For starters, we have something from PrepScholar.com, a website that I've used previously on some of these recordings. And they say Cancer is the fourth sign of the zodiac and represented by the crab. They're primarily known for being emotional, nurturing, and highly intuitive, as well as sensitive, and at times insecure. You know, insecurity functions in a twofold way. Firstly, they're people who are very much aware of their insecurities, and they do things deliberately to hide it because, oh crap, if people see the true me, if people see the real me, they're going to be absolutely humiliated. Some people turn to things like narcissism, other people turn toward things like never going outside. But there's a different type of insecurity out there, and that is the kind of person who isn't aware that they're insecure, the person who's going to be brutally honest all the time, the person who is going to do very rude things and they're going to chalk it up, that's just me, that's who I am, when they don't recognize that they're sabotaging their relationships because they don't feel that they are worthy to stay in a relationship. And by relationship, I don't only mean romantic partners, also platonic friendships, parents, family members of any kind. They're sabotaging their relationships because they feel they are not worthy. And I said the word narcissism earlier. If insecurity gets to that level when someone is actually like a clinical narcissist, then they are very far gone from the subject. And talking about astrology is not what that person needs. That person is going to need some very intensive therapeutic discussions. But if we want to look at how insecurity functions in regards to an astrological discussion, talking about the sun, the changes in the seasons, your birth date is in the summer, then it's important to remember not all types of insecurity are the same thing. So let's keep going here with Prep Scholar. Cancers wear their heart on the sleeves, but they have a range of emotions going on inside, which can at times make them seem overly sentimental or moody. This is due to their connection with the moon, the moody moon. Phases and why is Cancer is said to be crabby, the crabby crabs and the moony moons. Dr. Seuss would have a field day with this zodiac sign. Just like real crabs, Cancers are known to retreat into their shells. I don't know why that's so funny. And they're most comfortable when they are surrounded by their loved ones. They're generally on the more introverted side, preferring deep, intimate connections with just a few people as opposed to over socializing in large groups, which can easily overwhelm the crab. What are you talking about? Alright, when you see a lot of Nat Geo and other nature shows depicting crabs, they're all about, there's a single crab walking along the beach. That's how I used to do the crab when I was a kid. It's as best I can get. Or maybe Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob. He's mostly by himself. His daughter isn't even a crab. She's a whale. But when you watch something like Deadliest Catch, they're not pulling crabs out of the Bering Sea, one crab at a time. No. Crabs are very sociable. I don't know what this is talking about. I really think it is that. They're just thinking of this Nat Geo image or Nature Channel or something like that. When you first imagined a crab, I don't think it was that Deadliest Catch thing with the crab boats and the cages full of crabs, no. But let's say something about that. If they're going to be the moody moon and the crabby crab, then crabs are not always antisocial. Sometimes crabs are in very large groups, and sometimes they are, well, loners. It's going back and forth. And this is important, because there are species out there that don't ever like to socialize. They are mostly purely solitary. I'm sure you're thinking of something coming to mind right now, foxes versus wolves, and then beta fish or something like that, about how there are animals in their respected kingdoms that do not follow that. So it seems like we're going to experience something with Cancer where they're going to be really in and out. This should be partnered with the statement that they are following the phases of the moon, the moody moon, right? So the moon isn't the same all the time. We can see the full moon, the crescent moon, the gibbous, waning gibbous, waxing gibbous. Been a long time since I looked at those words. But the whole point is changing a lot. As far as this going for the sentimental side, playing to feelings, that's just it though. If you're an emotional person, you're not going to be experiencing the same emotions all the time. So let's go here. Cancers dislike small talk and can be difficult to approach at first, but once you get to know them, they'll be a loyal friend for life. There was a meme on Facebook, and this is the way that all brilliant intellectual conversations start out. There was a meme on Facebook that once said, I'm quiet, and I don't say much for the first 3 months. Then once you get to know me, I will never stop talking. The way that I remember these memes on Facebook is always like they have too many words. I don't think they had that many words, but a lot of people are like that. When, well, it takes time to warm up to certain people, whether you're on the established side. Like, say, for example, you're starting a new job. You don't know anybody there. Sometimes you don't always want to be very talkative at first. Sometimes your coworkers at said new job will not always want to talk to you, and it can take time to establish some sort of connection. Now, there are many good and bad Cancer traits. On the good side, the Cancer personality is loyal, protective, intuitive, and caring. On the bad side, Cancers are overly sensitive, moody, and vindictive. Moody, talking about the changes in feelings, that's expected with many people. That's expected with the majority of the population. Vindictive, that's not expected. I think going from moody to vindictive enters a different type of evil. Well, and I do mean that, like, as I said in a previous episode, I don't believe that we're meant to experience those types of emotions like anger and sadness. I think they're responses to things that should not be there, and we actually do want to live at the continual state of bliss. Life is a journey maybe between misery and chaos, and then bliss, faultlessness, peace, all of that. So, but that means that the objective is actually to get to bliss, faultlessness, and peace. There are people like Jordan Peterson out there who think that if you ever actually were to obtain that perfect way of life, you would be bored with it in within a week, and then you just leave and do something else. But okay, misery, world peace, being vindictive is definitely on the misery side, definitely on the darkness and chaos side. So that's bad, and that should never really be viewed as a justifiable thing, though. But we know that Cancers are highly emotional, introverted people who care deeply about their close friends and family. There's more to Cancer personality than just this. See, this is the stuff that is good to focus on. Here we introduce 4 Cancer traits and explain why they what they mean for the crabs. Cancers are loyal. Cancers are protective. Cancers are intuitive. And Cancers are caring. Vindictive, I mean, like someone is going to be caring, intuitive, protective, and loyal, but then they're also going to be vindictive. Sure. Yeah. When you think of a caring person that you know, I want you to do that just now. Imagine the most caring, protective, loyal person you know. Are they vindictive? Are they a Cancer? Perhaps they're a Cancer if their personality is going to be changing a lot, and they're going to have that type of introverted method when you sit down in a chair, just like the way I'm sitting down now, and then you're like, that person said something bad to me. I wish they hadn't said that. And then you think about it over and over again for 12 years. That's how somebody can go from being loyal and protective to being vindictive. Because what I believe they're trying to say is that they're promoting the sign of Cancer as someone who is going to be changing with a lot of emotions and feelings. And through this change, well, why is it happening in the first place? Because they're thoughtful, because they're introspective, because they're thinking about these things and they're keeping these deep feelings within themselves. If you have deep feelings, some will be good and some will be bad. Okay, sure. You have this type of metaphysical journey between darkness and light. Yeah, that's all nice. But when you actually deal with some real world stuff, people experience these types of very difficult emotions to deal with. And you can just kind of hold on to it and get angry inside, and then you're just going to be like on the outside. Or you can become more expressive about it and process these things through a variety of methods. Some people use traditional therapy, other people simply have a good social circle. But the point is, if somebody has all of these deep emotions and experiences, they won't necessarily always be optimistic. So negative traits of Cancer: overly sensitive, moody, vindictive. And I would like to read this vindictive section. If you ever cross a crab, don't be surprised if they get a bit petty or vindictive. Cancers like to get their way, and they usually try to do so through kindness and selflessness. But if that doesn't work, they're ready to go back to whatever or whoever is causing them to suffer. Whew. Be wary of angry crabs, as their emotions can make them insecure and manipulative at times. That's my little crab claw. I mean, that's what those crab claws are there for a reason, it seems. I think you can get the idea. Changing emotions. Some of these emotions are very intense. They're what psychologists call the negative emotions. Or we don't even have to use any terminology. They're these emotions that come from being vindictive, resentful, whatever you would be feeling when you were resentful. People are going to get angry. People are going to get frustrated, sad. And they're also going to be mad in a twofold way, once again. Because insecurity is done in a twofold way. They're mad at someone for doing something bad to them. Don't cross a crab, like that thing from Prep Scholar just said. But also, this is going to be like they're mad at themselves for not having the resources and the mental faculties to respond in an apt manner. Going over to a different article from InStyle.com. Your Cancer Zodiac Sign Guide, everything to know about the heartfelt water sign. Ruled by the maternal moon, the sensitive, sentimental water sign is the homebody of the zodiac. What a nice introduction. And now we have, once the summer solstice ushers in the longest, most sunshine-filled days of the year, it's Cancer season. That's stupid. I wish they hadn't phrased it like that. Annually, approximately between June 21st and July 22nd, the sun moves through the fourth sign of the zodiac, Cancer, symbolized by the crab. For many, this first joyful 4 weeks of summer are spent with family and friends at a local beach or pool, snacking on favorite foods. Hello, barbecue. And it does say that, hello, barbecue. This life-loving vibe is influenced by Cancer, a water sign associated with organic sensuality. Organic sensuality. And an appreciation for life's simple pleasures, especially food and family. Doesn't that just sound amazing? Not the family part, the food. Okay, so these traits are owed to Cancer's ruling celestial body, the moon, known not only for its gravitational pull, which influences the tides, but its ability to guide our emotions and intuition, and sense of security and safety. What did I say before about insecurity? Well, they're talking here about security, the antonym, going in a different direction. And in the big five personality traits, people who desire security are mostly high in neuroticism. About 8 or 9 years ago, some coworker came up to me once and said, like, "Hey, like, do you know about stuff?" Just kind of like that. And I'm might be paraphrasing a word or two, but she's like, "Hey, do you know about stuff?" And I'm like, "What kind of stuff?" She's like the brain. And I'm like, "What about the brain?" And then she said, "What is this word neuroticism?" I was like reading it somewhere, and I don't know what neuroticism is. And at the time, college graduate and all that, no idea what neuroticism is. And we looked it up and we found some synonyms like worrying, someone who feels that they need to have security around them, and definitely repetitive thinking, overthinking. All of these things came into play. Although I didn't know the word neuroticism 9 years ago, I always fell back on the explanation that Woody Allen was an on-screen neurotic before all of his scandals. But that's the whole point. People who have those things like worrying, or that type of repetitive overthinking, which leads to vindictiveness. Absolutely, that leads to vindictiveness. That type of repetitive overthinking creates neuroticism. And everything that we've read in these articles is just simply pointing out that cancers seem to be high in trait neuroticism. I don't really know if we can judge that based on what little information has been here, so let's keep going. A few deeply compassionate and endlessly caring, entertaining crabs are Mindy Kaling, Kristen Bell, Priyanka Chopra, Selena Gomez, Ariana Grande, Tess Holliday, who the hell is that? Lana Del Rey, Malala Yousafzai, Elizabeth Warren, and Margot Robbie. All women. That's kind of weird. You think they would have included at least one man. But half of these people, I'm not surprised at all that they are going to be some high trait neuroticism individual. These celebs are astrologically wired to channel their intense emotions into caring for others and expressing a unique understanding of the condition of the heart. A lot of those people were actors and a lot of them were musicians. Okay, not Elizabeth Warren or Malala, but Margot Robbie, Selena Gomez, Mindy Kaling, actress Kristen Bell, Priyanka Chopra. And they say this about artistic types that, well, I mean, I have to kind of provide some context. Back when I was in the theater about 15 years ago, one of the actors said that we're actors. We're like blank slates. We don't have any real emotions. We're blank on the inside. You can just kind of put whatever you want. Okay, now I need to pretend to be angry. Now I pretend to be sad. Now I pretend to be happy. Now I pretend to be a blank slate. That's the biggest load of horse crap I've ever heard. People who work in the theater are absolute drama queens. That's why we call them that, drama queens, because they're overly emotional, demanding. I'll be in my trailer. There's a reason why people used to say that. I don't know how popular that phrase is now. But that came from somewhere. It came from the fact that actors are melodramatic. They are full of themselves. They act like the world revolves around them. Or how about the moon? Do you see where we're going with this? And I'm not saying that all cancers are like this. In fact, I'm really saying quite to the contrary. I don't think it's possible to determine that everyone who is a cancer would have to have this type of personality. But for those that do, you're seeing lots of changes in emotions, very extreme sensitivities, and a lot of thoughtfulness. That type of ruminating in bad experiences. "Ah, that person told me that my line delivery wasn't that good. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to think about that rude and unnecessary comment that they made over and over again." So, as you can see, that type of thinking, that sensitive, excessively thoughtful, neurotic way of thinking can lead to vindictiveness, and now it's a complete picture. Let's keep going here with InStyle.com. Cancer personality traits. Those born between June 21st and July 22nd can generally conclude that their sun sign is Cancer. It is not definitive because the sun moves between signs on different days annually, so plus or minus a day. That's the way that I like to say it. Also note that while we tend to refer to ourselves as our sun sign, it's just one of many on the natal chart, which is basically a unique snapshot of the sky. I'm not really too into that stuff because, as I said, I'm much more focused on how do the changes in the seasons in relation to the date of your birth affect your brain waves. The home body of the zodiac. Typical sun and Cancer traits. Yeah, it does say that typical sun in Cancer traits include being nurturing, sensitive, compassionate, self-protective, security-seeking, offering loving, and displaying a goofy, ingratiating sense of humor. Some people may be drama queens, some people may be melodramatic, but they are entertaining. Have you ever heard that expression that funny people are more likely to be depressed? Yeah, that is so true. I'm not funny at all. I will never make you laugh. Nope. Ugh. Okay, that wasn't funny. But people used to tell me I was funny back when I was depressed. Years ago, like a decade ago. Since I stopped being depressed, nobody ever tells me that I'm funny anymore. It's all true. So the point is that it's almost like a Cancer sign is meaning that you were born for the theater. So the natural born caregiver. Since the emotional maternal moon influences Cancer's personality so intensely, the water sign needs to prioritize and occasionally twist themselves into knots to make the most in their life and feel slightly more comfortable and secure. Insecurity versus security. Are you seeing a pattern here? They'll pour their heart into caring for plants' pets just as much as they do loved ones. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Caring for plants and pets, some P's in there, plants and pets, as well as loved ones. I was listening to a podcast on YouTube once, and the host said that be careful of people who care a lot about animals because that means they don't like people. And I was like, what a ridiculous thing to say. Of course you can like animals and like people. We said plants. Of course you can like plants and you can like people. But then I began to think about everybody that I've known that's been very passionate about animal rights or just people that I've known in the past that were really connected to animals and they wanted to spend time with animals. And if they do a project in school, it's always about playing with a dog or being on a farm, all of those things. And they didn't like people that much. Out of the people that I knew personally, they didn't like people that much. And when I get very passionate about animals, like whether I had a good relationship with my dog growing up, or taking care of the goldfish, or the turtle that we used to have as like a communal pet for, but whatever. The more I bond with animals, I found that yeah, I would gravitate away from people. I also do agree with that. I mean, it's not impossible. That's where we're going. Okay, some people care a lot about animals and they don't like people, but if you're a Cancer and you can balance that, please, because that's a good thing to do. You shouldn't have to have that type of black and white fallacy where it's either this or that. Someone should be able to like animals and like people. End of story. Or like plants and like people. I learned a new word recently. I hope I got this. It's called Atwa. Have you heard of that before? Atwa. Air, trees, water, earth, maybe? Is ATWE? Atwa? Atwe? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Atwa. Air, trees, water, earth. That some people were actually trying to turn that into a religion for a while, where it's more just about appreciating the air, oh no, animals, trees, or water and earth or something. Or animals, trees, water, air, something like that. Because they're saying, wait a second, there are no people involved with that. Back to that whole thing. People cannot like the earth and they can't like um, animals and still like people. Some people think that it's impossible to have that type of balance. But the response from the Atwa people, whatever the hell their name means, is that animals and humans are animals too, says some people. It's about integration, and it actually is about achieving that balance. I obviously don't know that much about these people, but I just heard one YouTube video on this. But I think you can see where it's going. In my own bewilderness, it's like I mean, I think it's rather simple that people have this desire to have a balance in between protecting the earth and protecting humanity. Cooking or baking meals is a treat for cancers with a ton of love. It is their specialty. But if a moment calls for a sentimental card, bouquet of flowers, or FaceTime catch-up session, they'll be all in on that as well. Bake a cake and talk about it. That sounds amazing. And while they're loyal to the core, they will always show up for their friends. Family comes first for them, though. And while they are all loyal to the core, they will always show up for their friends. I think it means, but family comes first for them. Okay, that's pretty normal. Every sign is an assured quality, cardinal, mutable, which explains the sun's basic energy. There's a cardinal, mutable, and fixed sign with every element: fire, earth, and water. If we have Atwa, can we have Fiwa? Oh, I want to do that now. Fiwa. Must be animals, trees, water, air, Atwa. I like this Fiwa though. Fire, earth, air, and water. Sadly, earth, wind, and fire stole some of that. Earth, wind, Moreland stole the rest. Cancer is the cardinal one of the water group, which gives them a go-getter, big picture planning perspective. Absolutely. Here's something that needs to be talked about more. If someone is thoughtful, they are big picture planning. I could not agree more. Cancer traits, best personality traits. Compassionate, often sweet, always deeply feeling. That's the sensitivity and the fluctuating emotions, as we said. Capable of cracking up their inner circle with offbeat and goofy senses of humor. Need I say more? Cancer's worst personality traits. Cancer's intense connections to their emotions does not come without its negative side, which is a tendency to be moody and snappy. They are a crab after all. So says here. Pretty good one from InStyle.com. And going over to the very famous Astrology.com, which actually does seem to have some pretty good articles on this stuff, even though people might think that that is the median of this all. They have some things that are like additional pieces of info. They said the body parts that a cancer is connected to are the stomach, the brain, and the breasts. Brains and boobs. No, but the mantra of a cancer is I feel, like the thing that they're going to be repeating all the time. I feel like I just. They're going to be talking about things that they are feeling. Cancers are maternal, domestic, and love to nurture others. More than likely, their family will be too large. Too large. The more the merrier. Cancers will certainly be merry if their home life is serene and harmonious. Traditions are upheld with great zest in a Cancer's household, since as the rulers of the fourth house of home and memory, this Cancer sign prizes family, history, and loves communal activities. They are also tending to be patriotic, waving the flag whenever possible. That's an outward expression in itself, and fluctuating emotions and feelings. Why not? When you celebrate, you feel things. That's the point. A Cancer's good memory is the basis for stories told around the dinner table, and don't be surprised if these folks get emotional about things. Those born under this sign wear their heart on their sleeve. Ah, we've heard that again, though. Now, let's get right to the summer solstice stuff. In the western tropical zone, Cancer season begins on June 21st, commencing the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. This is the time of year when the sun's heat and light are at its peak, the daylight outweighing the night hours. From this point, the days slowly began to decrease toward the autumn equinox. Cancer's connections with nurturance and sustenance and rejuvenation is mirrored in the bounty of energy and resources in the summer months. Are you still with me? Of course you are, otherwise you wouldn't be able to hear this. This is why I wanted to do this video series. As the seasons change, it must affect the human brain in some way. Why do I say the word must? Because we do have things like seasonal affective disorder, and we do record the date of our birth. And I wanted to find out, is there some type of connection between looking forward to your birthday or dreading your birthday? If your birthday is in the summer and you are aware of that, how does that affect your thinking, your thought processes, and all of the above? And if you're born close to the summer solstice, particularly after the summer solstice, with all that daylight, Cancer sign or not, with your birthday's June 20th, June 24th, June 17th, June 27th, does that extended amount of daylight affect the human brain in some way? And this is saying that it's going to make you a very rejuvenating, caring, sentimental person. And it appears that that is the commonality that we see with cancers. And being sentimental could lead to being vindictive, because being emotional means that you're going to be experiencing all kinds of emotions. So I think that's where we're going to have to leave it at for now. Thank you for listening to this episode here on Astro Psych 400. One more time, you can hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends and family. And I'm also the host of Black Box Online Radio, which is a true crime podcast here on YouTube, talking mostly about serial killers, the Zodiac Killer, mysteries, and there are a handful of episodes about the CIA and some similar things, psychology as well. So I would invite you to listen to Black Box Online Radio and maybe share that one with your friends and family too. But also weigh in the comments section. What do you have to say about the zodiac star signs? What do you have to say about being a Cancer if you are one, or if you've known somebody who's a Cancer in your life? What do you have to say as well? Share anything that you want. I want to read your messages. That's all for me now. I'll see you guys next time, all right?